This is the Audi A8 L, Audi's flagship sedan. And if you give it a passing look, you may ask what all has changed. But if you give it an acute eye, you will notice that a lot has changed. This is, after all, the facelifted version of the existing generation. And we are going to take you on a drive to tell you exactly what all modifications or what all additional things this car has been given. You rarely ever see me sitting in the backseat of a car and starting the review of a product, but that's exactly what needs to be done with the A8L, because this is the business end of things. And it's categorically this particular seat. This seat is the one which gives you the boss mode. I'm going to tell you everything about the infotainment and all the controls that you have on the remote as well that you get in the middle over here. So you turn the screen on, and then one thing which is very, very cool is the fact that you have Netflix integration. You also have an HDMI jack to kind of just plug things in and watch whatever you want to from a source of your liking. In the center you have a remote that lets you operate a lot of things. The blinds, you can control the lights, and also the seats. And the seats are absolutely fantastic. They're magical almost. But what you get when you get into the boss mode is something very cool and very unique, and something that is not really seen on the competition as well. In fact, the S-Class is the quintessential best car in the world. Even the S-Class does not have it, and that's the massage for your feet. So for that, you press this and everything is going to start moving forwards. The front seat goes all the way up, and then this thing opens. That also massages your feet. You have controls over here for your seat, so you can actually adjust the seat on which you're sitting to give you more flexibility, more space, more comfort if you so need. That's it. You're sorted, and it's just such a pleasing experience, such a comfortable experience. The comfort level has to be really high up because it's the A8 and it's the L. So it's a long wheelbase version, and this is a flagship luxury product of Audi. So it competes with the 7 Series, the Mercedes S-Class, probably a Porsche and a Jaguar thrown into the mix as well. So it has to be comfortable. Seats are absolutely glorious, and that holds true also for the front seats. But then you have something which is very, very unique and something that just blows your mind. The A8L comes with something called Predictive active suspension, and what that does is essentially scans the road in front and adjusts the suspension setting accordingly. So for example, if you are approaching a speed bump, the car is going to scan the road ahead, and it is going to prime up the suspension in such a way that it just does not let you feel it in any way at all inside the cabin. Right now we are approaching a speed bump, and see that? The vertical movement was not really all that great, and this is what it does. It just primes the suspension in such a way that the oscillation is controlled to a very, very great degree. And it's all very great, but sometimes it also kind of gets confused by our road conditions, because what I have at least seen in my experience of driving the car for the last 2-3 days is that it reads the bumps in a very nice way and it just flattens everything out. But there are these small potholes or small imperfections in the road that do not really get read by the system in a very strong way, and that's when the suspension, when it goes over these kind of irregularities, it just tells you that, oh, you know what, that was something that definitely caused a little bit of a discomfort to the whole system. But otherwise, the suspension, the way it has been set up, and just even the default way the whole thing just soaks up the bumps is absolutely phenomenal. And what it does is, especially when you encounter a curve, is again, it reads up the conditions all around it in a very nice and smart way, and primes up the suspension so that people in the cabin don't feel the lateral movement. And that is something which is absolutely brilliant, because a lot of people I know have motion sickness. So this thing is actually going to help with that as well. And the whole experience of going long distance cruising in this car is extremely beautiful because of this one thing, which is the suspension. And it also has its effects on the dynamic side of things, because it helps the car handle slightly better as well, because you control the compression and the oscillations are also controlled. It just aids handling. Now, another very interesting feature that you get with the A8L is that when you get in or out of the car and open the door for that, the suspension raises itself. That's about 5 centimeter. It may not sound very much, but it really makes a lot of difference, and it eases the entry or exit from the car in a very nice way. But then you don't buy the A8L for its driving dynamics or the dynamic capabilities. You buy it for sheer luxury and for sheer comfort, and that it delivers. Another very nice thing is the lighting system on this car, and the suspension as well as the lighting. It's all driven by LiDAR, and the laser technology has really gone somewhere else now in terms of development. And what the lighting system on the A8L does is basically again reads the road ahead and adjusts everything accordingly. So for example, if you have oncoming traffic, the system is going to recognize that there might be a situation where the oncoming traffic or the people who are driving in the opposite direction might get blinded. It is going to reduce the intensity or just completely shut off only that part of the LED system, and that's about it. Everything else is going to be on, and you will have brilliant illumination. And then again, in terms of this thing lighting up the road ahead, the spread is phenomenal, and the intensity with which it really works is absolutely fantastic. It auto dips and goes into high beam, of course. I mean, this is something which is kind of common in cars like this, but it is a very intelligent system, and you often wonder how awesome it would be if our road conditions and our driving behavior was up to the mark as well. What about the other general things? Fit and finish of the car, absolutely top-notch, great materials used. What I don't like, or what I'm not a really big fan of, is the way you have the fonts on the screens. They could have been slightly more subtle, I think. You have way too large fonts, something that I think does not go very well with the nature of this car. What I wanted the A8L to have is ADAS or driver assist systems. It does not have anything, not lane keep or lane warning. ADAS being missing from a car of this sort and of this price is not something that you should forgive very easily. This thing is not a driver's car, let me tell you this absolutely upfront, bluntly and very frankly. This is not a 7 Series, this is not a Porsche Panamera. In fact, this is not even a Mercedes S-Class, because those cars, while being supremely comfortable, have also the sense of energy and excitement to them, which the A8L definitely lacks. It is not going to reward you if you start being heavy on the throttle and start playing with the steering wheel. So yeah, in terms of this feeling something special to a person who enjoys driving, not going to be the case at all. What you will find is a thrust of a 3-liter V6 engine, develops about 340 bhp and 500 Nm of torque. Now, the crucial figure is the torque, because that comes in at about 1300 RPM and goes all the way up to the mid-range, and that is really usable because you will definitely not be driving this car with a heavy throttle. So you need that torque to build up the speed and take you through a very nice and linear progression on the speedo. All those 340 horses, they come in very high in the RPM range. About 5000 RPM is when it starts to sort of, show its energy, and then it continues for about another 1000 RPM. The horsepower delivery, or the maximum horsepower that you will feel, is very high up in the RPM, and it's therefore extremely crucial that you're in the right torque band. It is comfort-minded and it delivers comfort without a compromise, and that's what A8s have always been. Now, when the new A8 comes around, I don't know what paradigms are going to be moved, and that's when the game of luxury is going to move to a completely different level.